And the last news note of the month, which is something I think we will cover a number of times because I hate this talking point. I hate it with every fiber of my being.
They ran out of pops?
They ran out of pops. The bad crowd reactions has caused a lot of talk about running weekly at the fairgrounds. When the idea of this promotion started, they were at first going to run tapings all over the southeast. At the time, I said it wouldn't work and they needed to run in an 800-seat building that they could pay for the pack every week because it's almost impossible to get people to buy wrestling tickets these days. Then, after the first show in Huntsville died, they decided to run Nashville and pay for the place at a 9,000-seat auditorium. It wasn't long before they moved down to the fairgrounds. Listen to our early episodes if you'd like to go through the process of them doing that. It worked out well for a while, but they've got to get out of there. This is from the Wrestling Observer, by the way. This is Dave Meltzer.
Hey, Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the problem is that they're in the impact zone?
Oh.
And they've burnt out the impact zone.
Oh.
So that's the problem. They need to get out from the impact zone. It's not that the shows are so bad they've burnt the audience. It's that the fucking building is the problem.
Every single time. Over and over again in TNA history. It's like, oh, they burn, as you mentioned, it's the impact zone, it's the asylum. It's like, they've got to get out of running the same building because, oh, it's killing
Full
the
Sail.
show. A Full Sail, yeah. It's remarkable, Liam, how during periods where the shows in all of these companies are good in those places, the crowd seems super engaged. Full Sail was one of the most hot buildings in wrestling. The Impact Zone was one of the hottest buildings in wrestling. Remember how much these crowds were going nuts for those near falls in that Raven and Slash match?
I do. Remember, I was there.
And now, all of a sudden, wow, they're not going crazy anymore. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, it's because the building.
It's the building. It's the fans' fault, Liam. They're just not making noise. And like the Dave Meltzer specifically cites the Loki Daniels this month, which is a good match that the crowd just do not give a shit about.
I can give you a bigger match where I felt it was more prevalent. The three-way X Division match where they're killing themselves to zero reaction.
But what reason has this Asylum crowd been given to care about Christopher Daniels?
Yeah.
None. Absolutely none. The dude lost a bad feud with Jarrett, did the weird, like, I am talking about metamorphosis and sports entertainment promos, and then was dumped down into the X Division to feud with Loki, who was once a star in this company and feels like a complete non-entity ever since he returned. Like, they have no reason to care about these people, so even if they go out there and, like, have a good wrestling match, they have no reason to care about these people.
Yeah, I got some more points about this, but I'll save it for later. It's just, it's also, it's unfortunate because the crowd makes the show a lot of the time too.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about some of these matches where I was like, I don't really care about these matches. They don't interest me, but if the crowd was hot and popping for them the whole time, I'd probably still care about it. I'd probably like, at least, you know, it would engage me more.
Like, remember when 3LK were really hot and they tricked you into liking them?
Yeah.
And they had these like high energy 6-minute openers where they were just doing moves and the crowd were going nuts. And now that they're winning the tag titles this month, the crowd don't give a shit. The crowd don't care about 3LK anymore.
It wasn't even like a pop for it.
It's just a thing that has happened on the show where things happen. And like, you could probably argue the biggest pop in TNA history is this month. Like, when Sting comes out for that Jeff Jarrett match, that crowd goes insane.
Well, I got things to say about that too.
But nonetheless, I hate this talking point. I hate it with every fiber of my being because it's
alright. We'll get used to this talking point over every episode from now on.
Yeah, it's just such a wrong-headed way to look at it. And like, people were doing it again during Revolution last week. It's like, why are the crowd dead during this Danielson and Moxley match? It's because the work isn't engaging the audience. I hate the idea that the crowd response is just this like mythical thing that's disconnected from the show and the product that's it's related to.
It also, for some reason, people put the onus on the fans all the time.
Yeah, it's like it's the job of the fans to engage the wrestlers instead of the job of the wrestlers to engage the fans.
It's like Chris Hero says, like, I've seen him say it a few times, there's no bad wrestling crowd, there's just bad wrestlers.
Yeah, and if you can't get that crowd to react, you just failed at your job that night. Yeah. And there are rare occasions where I'll feel sorry for people who will legitimately bust their ass and get nothing.
Oh, you saw that? It's like Danielson Moxley.
And I'm amazed to see people give that such high ratings, given how like the crowd just did not give a single shit about it.
I can only speak from my experiences. That was a match where I didn't care that the crowd wasn't into it because I was into it.
Bias.
I was watching them beat the shit out of each other and kick each other's heads in and brawl, and I was like, I like this even if the crowd's not into this.
And you should have been really into the Daniels and Loki match.
Well, no, because the work wasn't as good.
Work was better. Loki's better than Moxley.
I don't think that's true.
Loki is probably a better wrestler than Moxley.
Loki probably peaked higher, but Mox has had way more longevity.
Also, Mox is a much bigger star.
But also consistency.
But yeah, stop it with the fan blaming. It's like, if the audience isn't engaged, that's due to something in the product, nothing else. It's just the easiest thing in the world to just blame your fans for not caring when they don't care because you didn't make them care.
But even if, like, you want to go to the default, like, they're tired, well, then that's also kind of on you, man.
Yeah, you gotta pace your shows. You put this thing together.
Run it over 2 nights if you think it's going to be that bad and you want to get 6 hours of content on there. Like, there's changes that can be made functionally.
Yeah, maybe don't do a 17-minute pre-show match if you don't want your crowd to burn out. You know? Maybe?
I don't know, just save things, spread things out. Yeah, it's fine. You're a TV company anyway. I mean, like, I'm critiquing one of my favorite pay-per-views, like, of the last decade, so I don't know what I'm doing here, really, but...
I've sucked you into that due to being much lower on the show than nearly everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, because, like, I think it's easy to hyper-focus on that part of that show because it was the glaring part of that show.
You mean to talk about the bad stuff instead of just conveniently brush over it because you like the company?
Yeah, but... fine. If it's, like, an 8 out of 10, like, the easier talking point and the point that's going to get brought up always is going to be, like, the thing that made it that lost those 2 points instead of the stuff that gave it that 8.
And speaking of 8s out of 10s, Liam, let's talk about this month of NWA-TNA.
I'm very curious to see what you would give anything on any of these shows an 8 out of 10.
The closest we got, I gave Styles and Abyss a 7 out of 10, so that's close.
I like that match, actually, but I remember watching it and I was like, this feels like I had just watched Rampage.
Oh, again, he's going to be look at Mr. AEW.
No, but I was like, oh, this feels exactly like the match you would see opening a Rampage.
If this was on Rampage, it would have been 4 stars. If it was
No,
on NWA-TNA,
no,
my
whole point was that it was low to mid 3s, which is the Rampage staple.
Mr. Everything is AEW over here. Everything is Ring of Honor.
Literally, AEW is Ring of Honor and this company. What do you want, okay?